Hi, welcome to Math and Computer Tutorial channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.
Today, I will discuss SQL group by and having clause with aggregate functions like average, minimum, maximum, count, and sum functions. The group by functions, or so-called the aggregate functions, these are built-in SQL functions that operate on groups of rows, and return one value for the entire group. So this function usually are using to compute and return one value by group of rows. Okay, so the group by clause divides the rows into groups, and an aggregate functions calculates and returns in a single result for its group. So you can group the data using the group by clause. Okay, so together the group by clause, we have the having clause. The having clause to filter groups from the output based on the result of the aggregate functions. So if you want to group the data with filter based on the condition that you will set, then the having clause will be used. Okay. So these are the syntax for group by function. So you have select, then column list from table's name, and then group by. Then you also have here the column list. Okay. So another one, you can also include where clause. If you will include the where clause, take note that, okay, so the group by should be typed after the where clause. Okay, so you have select from where condition, and then you have type the group by clause. Okay, then a group by with aggregate function. So if you will add aggregate function on the group by, so this is the syntax. Select, you have the column list here, then you can add the aggregate function. Okay, then identify what column you will apply for the function. Then we have from table, group by, then column list. So we can also include order by clause, okay, to arrange the data on the result set. Okay, so we have, take note that the order by is always typed on the last part. Okay, so that's after the group by. Okay, then you have here the having clause. So having clause to filter groups returned by the group by clause. It is used to filter groups of rows returned by the group by clause. Okay, so this is why the having clause is usually used with the group by clause. Okay, so you have the set or group by with having clause. So a having clause is or will be typed after the group by clause. Okay, so you have select from table, group by, column list, and then followed by having clause. Take note that the having clause is type your group condition. So the having clause is a group condition. Okay, let us now apply this different syntax using Oracle Express. Okay, so we are now in Oracle Apex. So let us use the employee table. So this is the employee table. Okay, so let us apply the group by function. So let us use this. So select, so define the column. So say I want to display the dep ID, department ID, okay, from employee. And then we have group by dep ID. Okay, so it means that we will group the data by department ID. So all in all, we have 10 records in our table. So let us group this data by department ID. So select dep ID from employee group by dep ID. Okay, so run. So we have 4 groups. Okay, so we have 4 groups from employee. If take note that every column to be included in your select clause, it should be also type on your group by. Otherwise, it will cause error. Say I will type salary here, okay, to display the salary from employee group by dep ID. Okay, so run. Let us test. So not a group by expression because salary is not included in the group by. Okay. So if you want to display, for example, highest salary per department, so you will include the aggregate function on the select list. Okay, salary. Okay, so it means that the data will be grouped by department ID, and at the same time, it will display the highest salary per department. Okay, so click run. Okay, so you have here per department ID. So it displayed the highest salary per department. Okay, if your column has an aggregate function, it's okay that it will not be included in your group by clause. Okay, so same thing if you want to say display the lowest salary per department, so type min, okay, from employee group by dep ID. So click now run. So you have the minimum salary per department. Okay. You can also use the average function, aggregate function, average, say average commission per department. So you have average commission per group by dep ID, meaning per department. So you have the average function. Okay, so this is the average commission per department ID. So if you want to count number of employees per department, so we can use count function. So say count function, count all. Okay, so you can type asterisk, count all data from employee table, group by department ID. So it will count number of data per department. Okay, so the total data should be 10 records. Okay. Also, we can also use the aggregate function without group by. Say, for example, select dep ID count from employee. So let us omit the group by. It means that it will count number of employees for the entire table. Okay? Okay, so we can also use the aggregate function without group by clause. So let us say omit the group by clause here. So select count asterisk from employee. It means that it will count number of records on employee table, on the entire table. Okay, so we have 10 records. Okay, so we can also include order by clause with group by clause to arrange the data into ascending or descending order. Okay, so for example, so we have here select dep ID, max salary from employee group by dep ID. So if I want to arrange this data, so display the highest salary per department ID. And then I want to arrange the data by department ID into ascending order. So by default, the order by is in ascending order. So let us check. Click now run. So you can see, so we have the department ID and the highest salary per department. And then it is now arranged in ascending order from lowest to highest. So same thing if I want to arrange the data by salary, okay, by highest salary from highest to lowest. So order by, take note that you cannot type here salary, order by salary. Let us test. No? Descending order, so this. Okay, let us now test. So take note that not a group by expression because salary is not included in your select list. So therefore, instead of salary, use this aggregate function that you use to arrange the data. So we have max salary. Okay, so order by max salary into descending order. Okay, to correct this error. Okay, click now run. Okay, so we have arranged now the data by max salary from highest to lowest. Okay, so you can also arrange the data by alias name. So let us put an alias name for max salary. So let's say rename this by highest salary. Okay, and then order by max salary or it can be by alias name. Okay, let us test first this. So this is with alias name, order by max salary. So it can be. Okay, so you can also use the alias name to arrange the data. So order by highest salary into descending order. Okay. Okay, so it is now arrange the data by highest salary. Okay. So let us now add the having clause with the group by clause. Okay, so take note that the having clause should be typed after the group by function. So let us add having having clause. So having, and then the having clause should be always type the condition here to filter the records. Okay, so having, say, dep ID is equal to, is greater than or equal to, say, 20. Okay, so take note that we have 4 dep ID, 10, 20, and 30. So this time I want to filter the records. Okay, group the records by dep ID, but the dep ID should be greater than or equal to 20. Okay, and then display the same thing, display the data, the highest salary per department ID, and arrange the data by salary into descending order. Okay, so let us now run the data. Okay, so as you can see, we only have 3 rows returned because of the having clause condition. Okay, so the department ID 10 is not included in the list. Okay, it's because it filters the record using the having. The data is arranged from highest to lowest. Okay, so you can also include the aggregate function on your having condition. Say, for example, so select dep ID. Say I want to, so max salary, highest salary from employee, group by dep ID, but this time the condition is having a minimum salary. Okay, so the minimum salary should be greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, so it means that the data will be grouped by department ID and display by highest salary per department ID. But because of the having mean salary greater than or equal to 12,000, it will only display or group the data with this having clause condition. Okay, so it means that the salary below 12,000 will not be included in the group. Okay, then display the data by salary from highest to lowest. Okay, so let us check. Okay, so as you can see, the highest salary is we only have 3 rows returned. It means that the department ID equals to 20. The minimum salary is not greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, let us check the data. Select asterisk from employee. Let's check all data. Okay, so from this condition, minimum salary should be greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, minimum So we have the less than 12,000. This is, so this data, minimum. That is, the department ID is 20. Okay. That's why the return result for this condition, we only have three rows. Okay. Because department ID 20 is not included in the list. Because the minimum salary for this department ID is 10,000. Okay. So we only have three rows. Okay. So department ID 20 is not included because it filters the rows using this having clause condition. Okay. So what if we will replace the having clause or having condition with the where clause? Okay. So let us check. So that we can compare the difference of these two data. So for having minimum salary greater than 12,000, we have three records here. So let us now use where clause instead of having clause. So take note that the where clause should be typed before the group by function. So we have where salary is, so the same condition, greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay. So from three records, so using the where clause, let us test the result. So click now run. Okay, so you have four rows. Okay, the dep ID 10 is now included in the dep ID. Okay, display the dep ID and the highest salary per department ID. Okay, where salary is greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay. A where clause in the group by function. So take note that the where clause should be typed before the group by function or group by clause. Okay, so let us now compare the data. Because having clause and where clause are both filtering records, but let us check the result. So we have having mean salary 12,000, so where salary also should be greater than or equal to 12,000. So we have, so from three records, three rows, so instead of having clause, let us replace the word clause. Okay, so take note that the word clause, we cannot use the group function. Okay, so let us test so that you can see. Say your mean salary should be greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, run. So it says here that the group function is not allowed here. Okay, so the group function cannot be used with the where clause. Okay, only on the having clause. So that we can now remove the group function mean, and we have condition where salary is greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, so let us compare the data. So run. So now we have four rows. Take note that the dep ID now is also included in the list. unlike with the having clause minimum salary. Okay, because dep ID, so let us check the data. Because the dep ID 20, so we have a salary of 12,000 for department ID 20. That's why dep ID here is included in the list. Okay, because it satisfies the condition where salary is greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, so unlike with the having clause, condition, having minimum salary should be greater than or equal to 12,000. Okay, so that's why this is not included in the list, the department ID, because the minimum salary is 10,000. Okay, so that's it. So I hope that this video will help you a lot. Thank you and see you to my next video.